Hey trans activists, I got a suggestion for you. Stop flattering yourselves. I'll bet you watching this video right now, believe you're smarter than the average person. I'll bet you also believe you're of above average fairness, above average empathy, above average kindness, above average moral virtue. And that's because almost everyone does. If you were to ask a classroom full of people to put up their hands if they believe they're above average intelligence, most people would put up their hand. But here's the thing. It's simple math. It's a basic fact that less than half of you are above average. Trans activism weaponizes this feeling that many of us have that we're smarter than average or more virtuous than average. It makes us feel like we're being clever when we at least profess to believe that males can transform into literal females by simple say-so alone. It makes us feel like we're being virtuous when we attack others who don't follow along with this belief, simply for raising concerns that letting anyone simply self-declare what sex they are without any exceptions ever, no matter how sketchy the person is, could lead to some serious problems, especially for women and children, gays and lesbians, and other vulnerable people. Well, smart people do dumb things all the time. In fact, it's been proven that people who think themselves smarter than average are easier to dupe than people who don't. And that's because as we grow up and as we become more and more educated and as we learn, we come across circumstances sometimes where what our common sense tells us is counterintuitively not true. That sometimes there's a deeper truth, a more abstract understanding of something that is in fact the truth. Let me give you an example, something like quantum mechanics. How can light be both a wave and a particle at the same time? Common sense tells us that that's literally impossible. But very smart people who work in quantum physics tell us that, in fact, in a deep quantum mechanical sense, light can, in fact, be a wave and a particle at the same time. So we override our sense of common sense because we're being told by very smart people and we're being taught this very abstract idea that in the terms of quantum physics, light can, in fact, be a wave and a particle at the same time. And this is what people are telling us about simple common sense about males and females and biological sex. That this is one of those circumstances where we're supposed to override our own common sense because of a deeper, more abstract kind of truth. Well, just because somebody's telling you that something is a deeper, more abstract truth doesn't mean you should automatically do away with your common sense and believe it. Sometimes people are telling you things that are just complete nonsense. Absolute horseshit. So how can you tell when you should trust your gut and your common sense? And how can you tell when you should listen to other people and believe things that on the face of them seem patently absurd and not believable? Well, what you need to do is some actual critical thinking. Most intelligent people know that thinking is hard work, and most people would rather do anything than sit down and think about a difficult topic. And most people also know that raising difficult questions can alienate you from your friends and your peers. So let me appeal to your flattery for a minute. If you really think of yourself as of above average intelligence, then sit down and have a think about these questions like intelligent people do. Ask yourself what exactly it is about gender identity that makes it override biological sex. Ask yourself why some people believe that biological sex doesn't exist at all. Still, other people believe that biological sex exists, but that it can change. And other people believe that this question doesn't matter at all because we should all be nice to people who have gender identities. Ask yourself why these things are supposedly true. Ask yourself what actual harm there is in challenging someone's gender identity beliefs. Ask yourself why all of a sudden, for the first time seemingly in history, vast swathes of the young population are declaring themselves to not be the biological sex that they are. Ask yourself these questions. Ask yourself what's so scary about biological sex. Ask yourself this. Ask yourself what's wrong with being a feminine man and still acknowledging that you're a man. Ask yourself what's wrong with being a masculine woman and still acknowledging that you're a woman. I'll bet if you ask yourself these questions like me and my friends do, you'll come to the same conclusion that intelligent people across the world come to, which is that gender identity ideology is a bunch of bullshit. Thanks. Don't be a dupe. Don't flatter yourself into getting suckered into playing along with gender identity ideology. It's not smart, and it's not virtuous or noble. This isn't the latest science, and this isn't the latest frontier in civil rights. Nobody is going to die if you acknowledge that biological sex is real and binary and doesn't change, and nobody's going to die if you acknowledge that everybody inventing new pronouns and making up gender identities for themselves is not actually making any progress for society and is actually causing a ton of problems. Just don't be afraid to tell it like it is.